Hello, everyone. Welcome to the IEEE Communication Society podcast. This is episode number 23. And this is your usual host, Professor Aryan Kaushik. And today I have many guests with me, luckily. And all of these are experts on non-terrestrial networks, the technology that we are going to talk about today. So first I have Dr. Ayat Zaki Hindi, right? Did I say correct?
Yes, that's correct.
From Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology. Then I have Dr. Carla Ametati. She's from University of Bologna in Italy. Then I have Professor Gunes Karabult-Kurt. She's from Polytechnic Montreal in Canada. So welcome, ladies, to our podcast.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are recording in the evening in London, so we have had a whole workshop day. So we have had a very tiring day. So if our faces look a bit tired, please excuse us. So maybe we can dive into the topic already about non-terrestrial networks. So would you like to share any general thoughts at first, or any sort of prerequisites for somebody, let's say, who wants to start into the field of research of non-terrestrial networks? Is there anything that you would like to share with the students, with early career researchers about the technology? Anyone? Yeah.
I can start from my point of view that it's a very diverse field. So there are some basics to be learned that they are not usually taught in courses. So maybe start looking into tutorials, videos first, and then maybe you can see if you are interested or not, because maybe some people would prefer to stay in low altitude like UAVs, and then there are the satellites. Even in satellites there are many levels,
many layers as well in satellites. So
Yeah.
Carla, anything about non-terrestrial networks, any fundamentals you would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, maybe first suggestion I would like would be to start with the nomenclature. As we have said also today during a workshop, non-terrestrial networks is a generic terms, but is associated with the concept of standardization and also to 5G. So I would start from the concept of satellite communication. So starting from the orbit and all the typical impairments of the satellite channel. The important issue, the link budget, and then I will decline it in the context of standardization, so 5G and NTN, in such a way that to distinguish between UAV, HAPS, and then the spaceborne part, so the
higher
satellites.
layers and so on. Gunes, any thoughts?
On top of that, I can add that non-terrestrial network as a concept are networks complementary to the terrestrial networks. So anything up in the sky is what we consider a non-terrestrial network. That starts with the UAVs from 200 meters up until geosynchronous satellites at 36,000 kilometer altitudes. But it's as Carla mentioned, it's a term that's almost always associated with 3GPP standardization. So that's why 6G basically involves the discussion of NTN through this development phase.
So the first release from 3GPP was release 17, if I correct, to include non-terrestrial networks. And then the work has just been continued in every single release now, with many working groups trying to work around the solutions of NTN. So yeah, I mean, that's great. So about NTN, maybe we can dive a bit deeper now. So you guys work on, let's say, a lot of solutions around, implementing, let's say, artificial intelligence and digital twinning models for non-terrestrial networks. So from what I understand is, you have to have some sort of integration of non-terrestrial entities with the terrestrial network. So you're complementing the terrestrial network, you're not really replacing it, right? So what kind of, let's say, technologies we can implement to enable this integration that we're talking about, having, let's say, direct access from a satellite to your phone, or maybe like from a drone, or from any HAPS, labs, maps, as we were discussing.
Yeah.
So what kind of technologies we can implement in these?
From my side, I'm now working on integrating network digital twins into the network architecture for 6G, and it will be very helpful for non-terrestrial networks in particular, because of like having a local AI in non-terrestrial network is sometimes not feasible because, for instance, in UAVs you can't have a high payload, so you can't have computation power on the UAV side. So you should do all of the AI in the network part. And one way to do it when you have such a complex scenario with UAVs, satellites, terrestrial network, and everything is in federated domains. You need one entity that can have a vision on all of what's happening in the network. And network digital twins could be like a good enabler for this to happen, because by collecting data from all of the all of the domains of the network, you can have more visibility and more advanced optimizations using AI models.
Yeah, that's great. Any thoughts, Carla, Gunesh, on that?
Yeah, of course, digital twinning and as well AI on board the satellite. I mean, clearly with edge computing, if the architecture, I mean, the NTN architecture, so support the payload support an AI processor on board, clearly, but the combination of AI and edge computing can really help the autonomous system operation within this complex network, for example. So by processing also data on board the satellite, so by means of federated learning and this edge computing, indeed we can do really an optimization of this network from the point of view of the resources, for example, traffic forecasting. I mean, many things to do in this.
Yeah, but does it lead to like a lot of complexities in a way?
Yeah.
You know, implementing a lot of computing and AI on board, or I mean, satellites, let's say, already have like say like heavy payload. I mean, then you add on few other things. Doesn't it like make it more complex?
Yeah, actually, I can complement that thought with the most prominent application that we see these days is basically narrowband IoT through satellites, because it's very lightweight. It's in terms of the data rates and also delay tolerant. So that's an easy entry level application that we can use satellites to cover large geographic regions with their large footprints to be able to collect as much data as we can without real-time constraints. So IoT, Internet of Things applications are basically the first line of applications that will see most frequently in NTN.
And does it lead to like more challenges? So let's say you work around security in NTN, right? So to make sure that the data you are like kind of transmitting, let's say from the satellite to ground, or maybe any sort of like sedging network or something. So you have lots of like units, right? So you have like problem with is the data secure enough or not? So anything about that?
That's a that's a fantastic point, because there are the main issue is we cannot send technicians up to space to be able to update the keys. So we need to find good key update solutions. And the problem especially with the upcoming low Earth orbit satellites is they need to do handovers every about 7 minutes. That means we should come up with scalable authentication algorithms to be able to serve this large footprints and that in 7 minutes we cannot do it do this authentication one by one. So that it comes with new challenges that we didn't have to address. And another concern is the backhaul traffic. When we are using the terrestrial base stations, we don't need to actually encrypt the backhaul traffic, because we are sending the traffic back to the control center through a fiber optic cable. But now when we are using an open wireless link to be able to send this data, it also needs to be protected. So we need to also start worrying about protecting the backhaul traffic.
And then here, let's say, when you are adding additional like AI algorithms, so I understand that to train your models and kind of avoid the situation of every 7 minutes kind of manually doing something, you might have to plug in like good AI algorithms. That raises the cost, that raises the, like the energy footprint, let's say, in that particular instance. So how do we kind of make sure, how do we ensure is that is also, sort of taken care of? Are there any techniques around this or any ideas?
For me, it's always a trade-off between
Yeah.
complexity and then security, but I'm not an expert in that domain, so I can't.
Yeah, but we don't know like which one is more because everything is important at some point.
Yeah.
How we ensure that. Like in my understanding, I think, I mean, if you do implement AI algorithms, you need to make sure that they are energy efficient enough. Like they reach the estimation accuracy quite fast. They converge fast to whatever the solution that you're trying to achieve. But at the same time, you don't want to put a lot of computing power on the satellites on board, or maybe even for the ground. Like ground shouldn't send too many requests probably to basically not have overload of the services probably. But I mean, from your conversation it looks like that everything has to be kind of looked after. I mean, security has to be taken care of. Then you have to make a balance of the AI stuff, make a balance of how would you estimate channel, maybe how would you, I don't know, do post processing of the signal, or how would you do the handoff between different sort of satellites. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
I think that's accurate. And in addition to everything, we also do. Yeah, we need to also monitor the operating conditions, because thermal management is also a concern in space. So we need to make sure that we don't heat up the payload.
So is it like much worse than the ground up on satellite, right? It's yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah, but does it like change with the temperature, the whole thing? I mean, how does it work? So it's the temperature of the, let's say, the components that we have in the satellite and the surroundings probably. So it's like a factor in that.
Yeah, exactly. So the thermal management needs to be modeled accurately. So actually, the digital twin paradigm basically started with satellites, mostly because of all these concerns, and if cooling the satellites is much more difficult, because we don't have the atmosphere to cool it down. So it needs to be properly managed and planned according to the orbital dynamics.
Oh, very nice. So according to you, what kind of use cases we are aiming for actually? Having NTN on board, like what kind of use cases you can think as far as 6G is concerned?
Well, first of all, direct to device.
Yes, yes.
We need this direct connectivity of the smartphone to NTN, of course, and this can fill the gap in the digital divide.
They were using it for emergency SOS services. I mean, when they started the direct access, but the plan is to like move up.
The plan is to have something that is standardized and so compliant with the standard, which and the connection should be transparent to the user. So you move, and no matter where you are, say on the mountain or in the city center, but you should have a connection. This clearly brings advantage in the case where there are emergencies, so for the PPDR. And then there is also the segment of the broadband internet connectivity,
True,
which is really important.
So also, let's say one satellite, for example, have very high geographical sort of coverage, very wide coverage, right? So you might even have issues when you are actually, let's say if you have direct access from satellite to your smartphone. So if you're going from one area to the other, they may have different compliance issues. They have different regulations maybe. Do you think that this is a factor we should take into account at some point while deciding the use cases that we're talking about?
Well, there is, I think, an ongoing work on the regulation part, and also, I mean, there should be an agreement between the different MNOs and the different countries, satellite and network operator, and to ensure the service continuity across border as well. So an agreement,
and also make sure the spectrum,
of course,
like how you harmonize the spectrum of the non-terrestrial entities and the terrestrial.
Yeah. Personally speaking, I work on UAVs, which is not always associated with NTN, but it's a very important part to be considered. And for me, yes, regulations is a big part in enabling UAVs, and also because UAVs fly on higher altitudes than users, then it creates more interference, and maybe we should mitigate
interference as well. Yeah, that's true.
Yes. So for me, this is also something important to be considered to
Definitely.
enable new use cases for the future.
Yeah, because people sometimes get confused. Like they think NTN is just satellites. It actually is the flying platforms
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So, goodness, any use cases or Carla, any other use cases we can think of using NTNs? I mean, the one that I know of is the public safety one is quite important, the search and rescue one. Do you think it's a very like priority use case, like very important one for 6G?
Yeah, that's an important one. In addition to that, we can also make use of NTN for multifunctional purposes. For example, for Earth observation, we rely on satellites, so it can somehow be added as a feature or a service on top of the existing communication architecture. Because we have all these computational capabilities. One use case is making use of satellites as data centers. So that is also under. There's a lot of interest towards that application, which is not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but there's all these options to use satellites in for multiple purposes once they are launched.
That's good. And UAVs, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Or UAV-based things, yeah.
So UAVs are easier to deploy, and you can launch them, as you said, in rescue and in disaster management scenarios. But also there are more commercial sides to it, like for last mile delivery, video streaming of events that already happens, but very restricted for now.
Or maybe there is high latency as well, I guess.
Well, it depends also, because I don't think there are many trials for cellular connected UAVs. I think they always have a line of sight with controllers. So, yes, when the UAV passes through the network, they could have they could compete for the same resources as ground users. So there would become more problems with that. That's
Yeah. Any additions, Carla, goodness, about like UAV communication, some challenges associated with that? Any thoughts you would like to share?
Battery.
Yeah, that is a big issue.
The issue of them
especially with drones, yes.
Yeah, and especially if they can without a payload. I think that they're now I'm work most with the satellite, but I've read that the duration of the battery is a huge problem, and then especially then if you want to carry a Gino B on board, I guess that is still. And then you have the issue of the wind as well. I mean the weather condition.
But then do you like have an alternate to this? Do we use hot air balloons, or we use something like FSO to basically keep that battery charged whenever, to have like longer battery life? What do you think?
Wireless energy transfer can work.
Yeah. We have to go back to basics.
Back to basics. Tesla times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, some people are talking about hot air balloons then. Like, let's replace this battery problem. Let's have HAPS and like hot air balloons for those HAPS. Do you think that's the alternate, or we should look for FSO? Like today in the workshop, we were discussing this, right? Like Slim as well, he mentioned, he also had a podcast with us earlier. So he mentions you can throw in a laser, and then basically the drone can be charged while it's in the sky, and then basically you can get rid of this problem. Or we can look for some alternates like this, the ones that we are discussing with hot air balloons and so on.
Yeah, for me, HAPS are a very good trade-off between UAVs and LEO satellites. So for me, that there should be more research in that area, and I think that the potential is there, but we should study more the advantages and disadvantages of this.
Yeah, that's true. Anything you would like to add, guys?
Well, on my end, I can like all of these platforms are some type of a flying robot. So all of the control loops, distributed control loops, needs to be placed properly. So while we are looking at the um, first link between the user and the NTN component, we should also keep in mind that the control network is also needs to be established between all these components to be able to properly make use of them. So it comes with a lot of flexibility, but not easy to configure.
Yeah, yeah. And what kind of like synergies we can think of, let's say with the NTN? So we were talking about ISAC, we talked about AI already, right? So including, let's say, sensing and communication, not like sending the communication signal only, but maybe use like a dual function signal from satellite. So do you think that it sounds feasible, like synergizing NTN with ISAC, AI, and let's say maybe meta surfaces or some other technologies that we are talking about now? Or do you think that is a far-fetched sort of thing? It's not like a near future thing. What do you guys think?
Oh, well, I think that now Isaac, is becoming really popular. Because we need to exploit this channel not only for communication but also for sensing, and why not also for with NTN, maybe achieving a not a very accurate estimation or positioning, let's say, but with medium average to get this sensing of the environment. Given also the fact that the distance between the satellite and the receiver on ground, or the equipment on ground, and also the fact that it's most of the time is a line of sight channel.
And for channel estimation, you work around these ideas, right? Like deciding the channel or modeling the channel.
Yes, we have the idea. It's like, for example, satellite. Is on orbit, so you can predict you can exploit the periodicity of this orbit, and then so basically the idea is that you can leverage AI to predict the channels, and in particular, so the channel estimation. This can be done also, like for example, to reduce the number of DMRS, so the number of pilot, so giving more space to data, and also maybe it's possible to exploit a different configuration of the DMRS with the AI for an estimation performed by the AI itself. So it's the AI that give you you have a different design of the pilot, configuration of the pilot, which can be exploited by the AI for channel estimation, in addition to the prediction, for example.
But it leads to a bit more complexities, I assume. Again, back to the same thing. Always have to think of bottlenecks as well.
Yeah, I think at the starting point of everything should be design of the architecture, the NTN architecture. There are advanced design where, for example, you have 2 layers of satellites. When I say layer, not a different altitude, but with different functionalities, so they are the same altitude, basically. True. And they communicate because you are implementing a split of the base station, where the lower part of the phi, for example, is in one of the satellite, which is a bigger satellite, a satellite with carrying only the DU part, let's say, plus a part of the IFFT. And then on the other platform, you can put more the upper part of the GNB, and here you can dedicate more resources to the computational part. This clearly, this satellite do not have link with the users on ground. So the connection with the user is done with the satellite carrying let's say only the ref part and the lowest part of the GNB.
This probably can be done with edge plane sort of thing, like when you put all these inter-satellite links on edge plane and maybe add on some cloud computing together with that, and set up like a tier network with the ground as well.
Yeah, of course. But if you start with a good design of your architecture, I mean, maybe you can try to exploit the satellite, the payload also for a part of the computation. Yes.
Interesting. Gunas, would you agree or have any additional thoughts?
Well, yeah, I completely agree that if there exist signals, we should make the best use of them in the reception. That is always limited by the computational capabilities, of course, but integrated sensing and communication is one aspect. Also positioning simultaneously is another aspect. So those are the big trends, and if we can reduce the computational complexity associated with them, I think we can make these networks function much more effectively.
More operational, yeah. And what kind of like performance metrics we are talking about? So I was thinking about energy efficiency, latency, and making sure high accuracy for estimation that we are doing. So what kind of other metrics that you guys think of that will be very important for satellite and also for the UAV cases, or like a space air ground integrated network? What kind of metrics we think will be like some of the most important ones?
Well, as you said, the latency is the most important for me with NTN, because yeah, that's what.
Also with robotics, I think if you want to use like these AGVs and so on, right? So latency is quite important. I mean,
Yes.
between like this interaction of, I think, robot to robot, or maybe robot to human, or maybe like the mobile phone or something like that.
And then the computation capacity, because the battery is drained when we need to perform. So that's why it's better to maybe do the computation and AI models in the ground. And yeah, as you said, also it's not good to send a lot of updates. So
Every time,
yeah, so we need to find the balance.
It might be like a confusing sort of communication as well in a way. And then you add up more things, sensing, comms, many things you add.
Yeah.
Might become very complex. That's true. So before we conclude the podcast, thank you so much actually for all these thoughts that you gave. I mean, it was very important sort of points. So any sort of like future directions you think of, for research or development, or, anybody who's working on NTN, you think like what are the future directions we should aim for NTN? Any last thoughts?
Yes. From my side, I can talk a bit about AI efforts in general. In our institute, we are looking into using network digital twins, and one of the use cases a simulated environment that will include having satellites cooperating with a terrestrial network in order to enable teleoperated driving applications. So this is
I think that can be actually another topic of podcast. I mean,
yeah.
I mean itself, that's good. Carla, any final thoughts?
I would say enhancement in general to the air interface, because if we want to achieve a seamless integration between terrestrial and non-terrestrial networks, clearly we need to take into account the feature of the NTN channel, especially of the satellite channel, from the beginning of this integration. And there are within this macro area there are other subcategories where clearly within the radio interface we can where we can make enhancement, like say in terms of enhancement on the multi-carrier, TDD, the idea of working without GNSS, so working GNSS free operations to reduce the dependency on third systems. So there are many areas.
Very interesting, actually. Very interesting point. Yeah.
Okay, on my end, I can also say that this is there are a lot of design problems we need to address, obviously, but this is a very interdisciplinary field. So, for example, when we use the spectrum, it generates interference for radio astronomers. So there are all these interactions we need to understand and make sure that we do not we can all work harmoniously.
So interference in the space borne network, like in the space side.
Exactly, for because the radio astronomers use this received signals to for space exploration. So if we generate interference, it's somehow affecting their measurements.
Yeah.
So we should design our systems carefully.
Yeah, quite important point. Yeah. So with this, thank you so much for coming, all of you, and it was such a pleasure to talk with you. And hopefully, maybe next year we can probably do this same podcast again, if we all get together again, or individually, wherever we are.
Of course.
Hopefully, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah,
Thank you
Thank
for
you
the
very much.
invitation.
Thank you.